Okay, so what we're doing here today, guys, we have the Porsche engine on the engine stand. We've come a long ways. There's some secret tips I want to share with you guys. There's information on this engine is very hard to find. There is a lot of different opinions. We found some that are very wrong, including the timing and different things, and scavenge pumps. So where we're at with this engine right now, we have the cylinder heads back on, everything's retimed, everything's getting ready. We've put the valve covers back on. We got our Loctite 5900. We got a little caulking tube because we got to be a little bit extra on that. You could buy this in a little tiny tube for just slightly less money. We did a pulley upgrade. So this car had all metal pulleys on it. They make a little upgrade kit. You can put all plastic pulleys on it. And everything went really good and easy until we got to this pulley here, which is the tensioner pulley. This is actually the nut, and there's a bolt that runs from the back. It goes into a whole tensioner spring-loaded bracket, but it was seized in. The threads were totally seized. We cannot get it loose. So we had to pull the AC compressor. We had to pull the power steering pump, the alternator, and the whole bracket off just to put one bolt in. So once you do that, everything's fine. We put a new front main seal on this engine because we have a little gasket kit. We've reinstalled one side of the intake manifold. We have our new OEM oil cooler. Prepare yourself. We have a new, not rebuilt, not remanned, a new Bosch starter for this bad boy. Because when we were doing a compression test on it, the starter kept hanging and like not functioning right. And we all know putting a starter in this 911 when it's in the car is not a good time. That was 220 bucks, not really that much compared to what it could have been. And now we know it's going to run correctly, right? So there is that. We have a brand new air oil separator that is also a real nightmare to get to once it's in the car. We need to replace this coolant line and this coolant line yet with just regular hose and all that. We put the coil packs in, we've done all that. I want to show you a couple things on the scavenge pumps. The scavenge pumps are right here. There's one on this side, one on the other side. We're at the transmission bell housing end of the engine, and there is a lot going on here when it comes time to reinstall them. Taking them out, I didn't know there was an up, down, backwards, and everything else. There is a different part number. The one that goes to the back of the engine, which is this one, is part number ending in 54. So 996 107 02154. This notch right here marks the direction of the pump. If you put these in wrong, it'll blow the engine up. The notch on this one, on the back, by the bell housing, goes to the top. And this is part number ending in 54. So we're trying to figure this out. I'm showing you right now. On the front of the engine, which faces the back bumper, this one ends in 55. The notch on this one goes down. If you mix that up, that supplies oil to the cylinder heads and to the cams. Things are going to go wrong. When I say wrong, I mean $15,000 wrong. That's how much a used one of these engines costs. Don't make that mistake. We're still fighting I'm going to pull this light back over here. We're still battling the coolant. You know, this car had oil mixed in the coolant. We have all the hoses here. This is some of the hoses. The hose game on this car is severe. We still have two big hoses sitting there in a pan. We have new ones for. We have many small hoses. Some of those are straight. We could, like we just showed you, could replace with just part store coolant lines. A lot of them that go into the top of the radiators and little bits are not straight and they're pre-bent. You have to have the pre-bent hoses, not be rubbing on stuff. We have two, Philip, show you over here, two brand new bare radiators. These are about a little over 200 bucks a piece, like $215. This was a must. We could not use our old radiators. They're so full of that oil and antifreeze mix. It was just not happening. And on top of these radiators, we have the little hoses where they plug in. There's many arrays of those. We have some of those on order. The first order placed was for 8 hoses. We just placed another order today for 7 or 8 more hoses. That may not be the case. There is no part numbers on these hoses. So essentially what I did, I went to YouTube, went to eBay, and typed in 1999 Porsche 911 coolant hose, and there's thousands of them on there. It makes a difference on these hoses, whether it's automatic to manual the same year. It makes a difference from Career 4 to Career 2. It also makes a difference from, they changed everything in late 2001, so they have many different hoses on that. All the boxer stuff's different than 911, on and on and on. So we try to get most of our hoses from URO Parts, because URO Parts is way cheaper than the dealer, and they had all good reviews. Now, none of these hoses are push lock. These are all old school push on and clamp. So you don't really have to worry too much about getting a hose that's not going to fit right if it's push lock. Or a pretty safe bet with URO Parts. We're not sponsored by them, by the way. URO Parts, if you're looking at this, hit me up. Totally joking, of course. Everything else is all Bear stuff and Bosch. Everything is correct Continental belt. We're trying to do this thing exactly right. So whenever somebody buys this, if we decide to sell it, which is going to be debatable at this point, they can go drive it. They don't have to worry about it, and they're good for another 100,000 miles. The engine themselves, these are actually very good engines. We're waiting currently on the new IMS bearing. The IMS bearing in this engine looks like it's factory. It looks like it's totally fine, but since we have no paperwork showing it's ever replaced, I cannot, in good conscience, put this engine back in the car without replacing that. So we did buy the install and uninstall little press kit for the IMS. I bought a new IMS bearing, and it's been taking forever to get shipped. It will be here tomorrow. So this weekend we can put the engine back in the car. Got a brand new Luke clutch for it. Just everything I get my hands on, every single piece. And then at the very end, before we put it in, we're gonna take it out. We'll put the cleaner to clean all of the oven cleaner stuff, and we'll clean all this crap off. It'll look a lot better, and be a lot shinier. Of course, not that it matters, not that anybody could ever see anything in this car. But we got all L-ring head gaskets, all Victor Ryan's gaskets and oil rings and seals. And that's gonna be it. We did go ahead and get, for this thing, the Muffler Delete Kit. You can see it's sitting right here. Because on the 996, it's a nasty deal because the muffler is huge, right? It's like massive. And it sits right on top of the coil packs. And you cannot get to the plugs or coils if you have a problem without taking the whole damn exhaust off. And that is not what we need to be doing. So we have muffler delete, it loops around all that, deletes the whole thing. It leaves all the factory converters in place, only deletes the mufflers. It shouldn't be too loud. It should have a nice sound to it from what I've seen in videos. And that's it. We haven't forgot about you guys. We haven't posted in a while. A lot of people was waiting to see what's going on with this car. It was a parts battle from day one. Hopefully by the end of the weekend, we can have this thing in the car and be able to start it up. And then we'll have to slowly but surely reassemble all these radiators, reassemble all these lines one by one. And then after we get it running and we have that much done, we could then radiator flush the system to get any little tidbits of the oil and water mix out. We did not get out. And that's it. It's been a massive project. Our parts list total is probably going to be, well, by the time we get tires for this thing and whatever else, well over $4,000 just in parts only. We have probably close to $1,000 just in hoses. That's no joke. This thing has the most radiator hoses of any car I've ever seen or ever even heard of. But it is what it is. They are really good cars. Hopefully, once we do this, like I said, another 100,000 miles should be no problem in this car. It should be a very reliable car. And if it's not, we're just going to money it to death till it is. That's how you do it, right? All right, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll be back very soon with another video. We'll see you all later.